A top 10 list. Nobody's ever done one of those before, I hear you all cry. But when the creative juices aren't flowing, we shall gladly revert to the same old content peddled by every wrestling YouTube channel in history. Now settle back in a comfy chair as we run down the top 10 WWE pay-per-views of all time, according to Heel Turn Wrestling. Or is it Premium Live Events now? Number 10, WrestleMania 12. Thought of by most as a one-match card, WrestleMania 12 has enough action, spectacle and gimmickry to keep you enthralled throughout the 3-hour show. While Shawn and Brett's Iron Man match is most definitely the meat of the matter, the undercard certainly holds at its end with a titanic tussle between Diesel and The Undertaker, Stone Cold's WrestleMania debut versus Savio Vega, and the absolute lunacy of the Hollywood Backlot Brawl. Number 9, WrestleMania 30. WrestleMania 30 was the first ever WWE pay-per-view streamed on the WWE Network. The show-long storyline of Daniel Bryan's ascent to the top of the WWE mountain was this show's hook, but the rest of the card manages to keep interest all the way through. Nicely paced, with the Shield 6-man tag team match and the Divas Scramble matches not outstaying their welcome, John Cena would overcome Bray Wyatt, and The Undertaker's streak would be broken in the most newsworthy moment of the show. Sprinkle in the opening featuring Hogan, Austin and The Rock, this is a fun show with a satisfying ending. Number 8, SummerSlam 1998. SummerSlam 1998 encapsulates the Attitude Era perfectly. A 3-hour show with a hair versus hair match, a ladder match, a hardcore handicap match, all on the undercard. Sandwiched in between were live musical performances by the Insane Clown Posse and the DX Band. All this and the show's theme song, Highway to Hell by AC/DC, served as an appetizer to the Steve Austin vs Undertaker main event. One of the many chapters in the overarching Austin McMahon storyline, this pay-per-view is 3 hours of high-octane 90s wrestling that's a time capsule of the Attitude Era. Number 7, Invasion 2001. Ultimately, a case of what could have been, the Invasion pay-per-view was a huge financial success for the WWE, drawing the most buys for a non-WrestleMania pay-per-view in history. 10 matches on this card with 2 real show stealers, the hardcore title match between Jeff Hardy and the newly signed Rob Van Dam, and the 10-man tag team main event featuring virtually every available headliner to the company. The WWF versus Alliance theme of this show really added to the overall drama, but in retrospect, a bit of restraint on WWE's part, namely waiting for the big WCW names, Nash, Hogan, Hall, Goldberg, etc., could have resulted in this making the podium in this top 10 list, as opposed to being one of the chasing pack. Number 6, SummerSlam 1992. Wembley Stadium played host to this unforgettable spectacle. The Ultimate Warrior and Randy Savage met in an underwhelming WWE title match, but the memorable moments on this show were provided by the unforgettable entrances for The Undertaker and Legion of Doom. Also, an underrated match between Rick Martel and Shawn Michaels, seemingly fighting over the affections of Sensational Sherry. But the undisputed highlight was the main event between hometown hero British Bulldog and WWF Intercontinental Champion Bret the Hitman Hart. This was a 30-minute match that culminated in a popular victory for the hometown hero Davey Boy Smith. 30 years have since passed, and this event still lives long in the memory for all long-time wrestling fans, especially those of us in the United Kingdom. Number 5, WrestleMania 28. A fantastic show that delivered exactly what it said on the tin. Sort of. More on that later. This show marked the true beginning of the Yes Movement, which only strengthened after Daniel Bryan's 18-second loss in the World Championship opener to Sheamus. There was solid in-ring action here, provided by Randy Orton vs Kane, Big Show vs Cody Rhodes, and a Team Raw vs Team SmackDown 10-man tag team match. The 3 featured matches more than delivered, with CM Punk successfully defending his WWE title against Chris Jericho in a technically sound encounter. The Undertaker would overcome Triple H and special referee Shawn Michaels in a strong Hell in the Cell match. And in the main event, The Rock, competing in his first singles match in nearly a decade, toppled John Cena in a battle of the past versus the present. A worthy successor to The Rock's WrestleMania 18 match with Hulk Hogan, the live crowd, myself included, was fully invested in this back and forth encounter with near falls aplenty. Although WWE would tarnish this match's legacy slightly by presenting the same match in the main event of WrestleMania a year later, WrestleMania 28 stands as one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. Number 4. Money in the Bank 2011, the Summer of Punk. This pay-per-view hinged on the compelling, pipe-bomb-fueled storyline that CM Punk could win the WWE title on his last night with the company in his hometown of Chicago. The match itself earning the then prestigious 5-star rating from Dave Meltzer, the first WWE match to do so in well over a decade. CM Punk overcame the odds to become the WWE champion and promptly escaped through the crowd, blowing Vince McMahon a kiss on the way. What followed was 8 days of genuine conjecture over what would happen with the WWE title and the newly unemployed champion. WWE would pull the trigger on his return, but this singular event is given the credit for reigniting a lot of lapsed wrestling fans' interest in the product. Away from the CM Punk injury, the pay-per-view delivered 5 other matches, 3 of which over-delivered in the ring. Both Money in the Bank ladder matches and a World Heavyweight title match between Randy Orton and Christian offered an abundance of thrilling action, all serving as worthy support acts to the CM Punk main event shenanigans. Number 3. In Your House, Canadian Stampede. Clocking in at 1 hour and 55 minutes in duration, it's almost inconceivable that any wrestling pay-per-view would be anywhere under 3 hours in 2022. But 1997 was most certainly a different time. A 4-match card under the In Your House banner, this was the last regular 2-hour In Your House pay-per-view by the WWE. But make no mistake, this was a 1-match show. Triple H and Mankind would open the show with a wild brawl that would spill out all over the arena long after the ref had thrown out the match. Next, the great Sasuke would pin Taka Michinoku in a technically sound wrestling clinic that fell flat with the live crowd but showcased what the fans were to expect from the upcoming light heavyweight division. In the semi-main event, The Undertaker would defeat Vader with a tombstone to retain the WWE title. A very good 12-minute brawl, Vader was a last-minute replacement for the injury-stricken Ahmed Johnson. And now, the main event. The 10-man tag team match between the Hart Foundation and Team USA, comprising of Goldust, Ken Shamrock, the Legion of Doom, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. With the face-heel dynamic reversed due to the location of the show, the Hart's home city of Calgary no less, the crowd were at fever pitch for this entire 50-minute classic. Each entrance was met with the loudest of boos for the American contingent and the most full-throated of cheers for the Harts, with Bret Hart himself receiving an ovation that could only be classed as godlike. It would be Owen Hart who would score the decisive pinfall for a popular hometown win, with Steve Austin being the man pinned. Austin would end up being escorted out in handcuffs for his post-match attack on the Hart family. An incredible ending to a great night of action. Watching the post-match celebrations could be seen as bittersweet, but on July the 6th, 1997, the Hart Foundation had returned as conquering heroes. Number 2. WrestleMania 19. Picking up the silver medal in this list, WrestleMania 19 has no less than 5 main event worthy matches, with some providing highlights that are replayed to this day. Triple H vs Booker T had a controversial, racially fueled build-up, and Triple H ultimately retaining his title was an unpopular result with fans across the board. Shawn Michaels and Y2J's teacher vs pupil match would deliver a technical masterclass that would truly re-establish HBK as the premier worker in WWE. Hulk Hogan would defeat Vince McMahon in a bloody street fight featuring a cameo by Rowdy Roddy Piper, and Steve Austin would finally lose to The Rock at WrestleMania in a worthy final chapter to their feud. Although we wouldn't know it at the time, this was Steve Austin's last match until this year's WrestleMania, with Austin coming out of retirement to topple Kevin Owens. The match that would close the show was fraught with danger, with Kurt Angle, desperately needing neck surgery, dropping the WWE title to Brock Lesnar. Lesnar would also leave the match badly concussed after a shooting star press attempt went wrong. Both men would leave the building in a lot of pain, but not before delivering a classic main event, justifying the decision to put them on last with heavy competition behind them. The undercard would complement the star-studded event nicely, with solid action from the likes of Rey Mysterio vs Matt Hardy, a women's triple threat match with Trish Stratus regaining the women's championship, and a triple threat tag team match with Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin overcoming the Guerreros and the makeshift duo of Rhino and Chris Benoit. Sprinkling a live musical performance by Limp Bizkit, and you've got a show that is almost perfect. Speaking of Limp Bizkit, number 1, WrestleMania 17. This should come as no surprise, but the number 1 pay-per-view of all time, according to us here at Heel Turn Wrestling, is WrestleMania 17. You know the drill with this show, but allow us to walk you back down this road just one more time. Okay, I'll stop singing. This show was a thank you and goodbye to the Attitude Era. Just a week earlier, WCW had gone out of business. The war was over. It was time to celebrate and commiserate. Limp Bizkit, as in our previous entry, provided the song My Way as a backdrop to the show itself, and the main event video package for Steve Austin vs The Rock. There was just one, okay I'll stop, more arena-wide brawl for the hardcore title. There was one more TLC match for the tag team titles. A trip further down memory lane with a fun gimmick battle royal. A wild father-son brawl between Shane and Vince McMahon, with Linda McMahon possibly getting the pop of the night, rising from her sedated state to deliver the extra point kick through Vince's uprights, allowing Shane to pick up the victory. The Undertaker would defeat Triple H in the first of what would end up being 3 WrestleMania encounters. Triple H would be played to the ring by Motorhead, who would sing the same line of his entrance theme over and over and over again. But on this channel, we're giving Lemmy a pass. China would defeat Ivory, the APA and Taz would quickly dispatch the right to censor, Eddie Guerrero would take the European title from Test, and Chris Jericho would successfully defend his Intercontinental title against Commissioner William Regal. And so it boiled down to the main event. Steve Austin, the anti-authority rattlesnake, defeating The Rock with help from his arch nemesis, Vince McMahon. The feud that fueled the Attitude Era came to an end with the ultimate anti-hero siding with his boss. The Attitude Era came to an explosive climax with one last gut punch on the way out. And that's our top 10 list. Do you agree? Disagree? Let us know your list in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be alerted to new content from us, and follow us on social media. Catch you on the next one.